All guests and participants are requested to take their seats. There are no reserved spots, so please feel free to sit wherever you want. All guests and participants are requested to take their seats as we await the arrival of our Honorable Governor. You are also requested to kindly keep your mobile phones in silent or switched off mode. Thank you. Hello, check. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand to welcome Honorable Governor of Nagaland, Sri La Ganesan. Kindly remain standing for the national anthem. Thank you. Please be seated. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first ever state-level workshop on Pocso and Ndps Act, jointly organized by the High Court Legal Services Committee, KOHIMA Bench, in collaboration with the Department of Law and Justice, Department of Health and Family Welfare, and Nagaland Police. To commence with the inaugural session, may I invite Honorable Mr. Justice Buddhi Habung, Judge, Guwahati High Court, to kindly deliver the welcome address.
Honorable Governor of Nagaland, Sri La Ganesan, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, today's gathering organized by the High Court Legal Services Committee, KOHIMA, marks a significant milestone as we come together to discuss two crucial laws, that is Pocso, Prevention of Children from Sexual Offense, and Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act, NDPS Act, that is. The Pocso Act of 2012 was enacted to protect children from offenses of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and pornography, and it provides for establishment of special court for trial of such offenses. Though the Act came into force on 14 November 2012, we still grapple with enormous questions to understand the essence of this legislation. Without periodical workshops like this, many questions that vex the stakeholders who deal with Pocso Act cases remains unanswered, and the result may be devastating. For instance, in the case of Attorney General for India versus Satish and another of 2021, the Honorable Supreme Court had to intervene on the interpretation of Section 7 made by the Bombay High Court in Satish Ragade versus State of Maharashtra, which had ruled that grabbing a child's part of body without skin to skin contact did not constitute sexual assault under the Pocso Act. Setting aside the judgment, it was emphasized that Section 7 covers both direct and indirect touches, and the High Court's interpretation trivializes and legitimizes undesirable behavior that undermines a child's dignity and autonomy. The entire set of guidelines have also been laid down in the case of Alak Alok Srivastava of 2018 and Nipun Saxena of 2019. A workshop on Ndps Act of 1985 is also relevant so far as our country and particularly the northeastern states are concerned. Friends, our state, Nagaland, shares land borders with Myanmar in the 5 districts of Mon, Tuan Sang, Noklak, Kipire, and Phek. Keeping in mind that Myanmar is one of the countries that forms the infamous Golden Triangle along with Thailand, Vietnam, and Laos, the problem with drug consumption and trafficking is enormous. As per the latest figures, there is a total cumulative pendency of 92 cases under Pocso Act and 408 cases under Ndps Act pending adjudication before the special designated court of various district court of Nagaland. The majority of the pending cases, however, are concentrated to the urban landscape of Dimapur and Kohima. Setting the tone of the workshop in motion, I, on behalf of the Honorable Chief Justice and my fellow judges of the Guwahati High Court, would like to extend our warm welcome to the Honorable Governor of Nagaland, Sri La Ganesan, who, despite his hectic schedule, has accepted our invitation for today's program. It is our honor and pleasure to have the Honorable Governor within our midst, who I'm informed has a keen interest in music, art, scholarly, and literary works, apart from being true patriot. I have the privilege to welcome Justice Mir Alfaz Ali, Director, Judicial Academy, Assam, Sri Anup Kinchi, Commissioner and Secretary, Department of Law and Justice, Sri V. Kejo, Commissioner and Secretary, Department of Health and Family Welfare. I welcome Sri Rupin Sharma, DGP Nagaland, who has been leading the fight against drug menace in the state of Nagaland. Sri Ajongba Imchen, Registrar cum Secretary, High Court Legal Services Committee, Kohima Bench, under whose leadership today's workshop is being organized. I also extend warm welcome to the learned resource persons, Sri S.P. Moitra and Dr. Saibya Saldana. Finally, I welcome all the judicial officers, public prosecutors, police officers, medical and media fraternity to this one-day workshop. Each one of you plays a pivotal role in upholding justice and safeguarding the well-being of our society. And your presence here today underscores the gravity of the issues we are here to address. The attempt of this state-level workshop for all the stakeholders on this topic is to learn, relearn, exchange ideas, and keep abreast with the latest development in these fields of laws, so as to ensure that there is no travesty of justice. I earnestly hope and believe that there will be a meaningful discussion of legal ideas and that it will advance the case of justice for all. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Lordship. We shall now have a time of presentation to acknowledge the presence of our honored guests here today. I request Honorable Mr. Justice Buddhi Habung, Judge Guwahati High Court, to kindly present a memento to our Honorable Governor of Nagaland, Sri La Ganesan, as a token of our love and appreciation for his presence here today. Thank you. I request the High Court volunteer to kindly felicitate Honorable Mr. Justice Buddhi Hapung, Judge, Guwahati High Court. He is presently a station judge at the Guwahati High Court Kohima bench. I request Lordship to kindly stand and receive our small token. We also acknowledge the presence of Honorable Mr. Justice Retired Mil Afaz Ali. He is presently the Director of the Judicial Academy, Assam. He will be one of our resource persons for the first working session on the Pocso Act. Sri Rupin Sharma, IPS, DGP, Nagaland. Sri V. Kezo, Commissioner and Secretary, Department of Health and Family Welfare, Government of Nagaland. Sri Anup Kinchi, IAS, Commissioner and Secretary, Department of Law and Justice, Government of Nagaland. Sri S.P. Moitra, District and Sessions Judge, retired. He is presently a faculty at the Judicial Academy, Assam, and he will be one of our resource persons on the second session on NDPS. Dr. Shaibia Saldania, MD, Consultant Gynecologist and Child Protection Trainer, and co-founder of the Enfold Trust. She is also our main resource person for the first working session on the Pocso Act. Sri Victor Sema, Member Secretary, Nagaland State Legal Services Authority. Thank you. We shall now have the address by our honored guests. I request Sri Anup Kinchi, IAS, Commissioner and Secretary, Department of Law and Justice, to kindly address the gathering.
Honorable Governor Nagaland, Shri Naganeshan ji, Justice Bodhi Habang ji, our DGP, Shri Rupin Sharma ji, our Commissioner Secretary, Health and Family Welfare, Mr. Kezo ji. I'm very happy to be part of this initiative taken by the High Court Legal Services Committee, Kohima bench, in collaboration with Department of Law and Justice, Department of Health, and Nagaland Police, for having organized this state-level workshop, which I'm told which is first of its kind in Nagaland, on these very important acts of Pocso and NDPS Act. See, laws, they are made to benefit the society. But if they are not enforced strictly and if they are not, implementation is not effective, the real benefit actually does not come to people. So with this thing in mind, we are organizing this workshop to see how the loopholes can be, we can address to them, and how the benefit of this act can really come to people. If we see the working of Pocso in last 10 years, conviction rate is very low. It's around 14% in last 10 years. So that shows that there are some gaps in the prosecution and in the investigation. We need to impart those skills. We need to, enlighten our people who are dealing with it so that we get better results. The time period also, it's very lengthy. On an average, it's 1 year and 5 months to dispose one case. So that is actually a very long period. So apart from that, there are so many other intricacies. As our Honorable Justice has mentioned that about Section 7. I was not knowing that it is Section 7, but the contact and non-contact thing is there, which this awareness needs to be created. The sex education in school is so important. The child should be very clear what is good touch and bad touch. Then only the more reporting will come. Then only there will be more, cases will come to light. Though reporting has increased after this act, but still a lot needs to be done. Similarly, the NDPS, the most important act I think in Nagaland, I'm told 30% of the people they are in the drug abuse. Reason being, Nagaland in the transit of the main producing centers of Myanmar and Manipur. So we are more prone to this menace. I'm very happy to know I've just joined after my Delhi deputation, but I was just going through, came to know what good work Nagaland police is doing, and really they are doing some great job, which is going to bring some good results. Apart from that, yes, there are some gaps in the implementation of this act also, because it's a specialized act. The punishment is very stringent, so the procedure is also very specialized. So we need to actually address to all those loopholes which are there. I wish all the best to the resource person, to the participants, and all the resource person also, that we have a very healthy discussion here. All the officers from the police department, senior officers from the judiciary, they'll contribute their experience, they'll share with us, and we'll have some, useful discussions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I now request Sri V. Kezo, Commissioner and Secretary, Department of Health and Family Welfare, to take his time.
Respected Honorable Governor of Nagaland, Sri Ganesan, sir. Our respected Justice, Sri Budi Habung, and Justice Retired Mir Alfaz Ali, DGP Nagaland, and my colleague Anup Kinchi, Commissioner and Secretary, Law and Justice Department, the Registrar of the High Court, resource persons present here, and all the officers from the various departments. I am privileged to share a few thoughts, a few takes of mine on these two very critical issues. And we are now aware of the substantial or exponential proliferation of abuse of minors. And we had just a few days ago read in the newspapers about increasing cases in Korea, South Korea. Now with the proliferation of the internet and with everyone having access to it, we are coming into a larger group of vulnerable population, children who are exposed to manipulative minds and criminals on the internet. Not only that, it is spawning a culture of exploitation, and despite the best efforts of the enforcement community of all the nations, it remains to be a challenge. I'll not go into all these details. This you all know as well as me. I just want to share on the Pocso Act a few concerns that much of it is uh, the result of lack of awareness of what is proper and what is not. If I may venture to say so, even the perpetrators themselves actually do not have a proper idea of what is an appropriate touch and what is not. We are still yet to be sensitized about what is appropriate interaction, even verbally also. So I think it is time even our educational system begins to teach our children about what is an appropriate physical or verbal interaction, teach them where to draw the lines, so that even potential, criminals or offenders, let's put it that way, would be having a better awareness of what is acceptable and what is not. Awareness helps to create a lot of mental boundaries, and it begins to, over a period of time, build up resistance and knowledge that resistance to the victims, who begin to understand that this is appropriate and this is not, and to the perpetrators that if I should not cross this line, if I do, I might get into trouble. So again, the other problem in our society is because we are so closely knit. The problem of social stigma is very strong. And I think a lot of people prefer not to report and prefer to hide them because of the stigma, social stigma that is most likely to follow. And then they end up with a lifetime of pain, suffering, traumatic, everyday life. So that is my personal view, that we can all begin by creating awareness and learning to be more frank and open about how you would like your children to have interactions with other people. I think it's all something that needs to start at home. Basic values and the efforts that parents need to make to create awareness in the children. Now, on the NDPS Act, I would like to say that I had the privilege of growing up in college at a time when heroin first made its landing in KOHIMA. I was in Science College then, 1981. And in the years that followed, heroin came from Manipur. Then, in the years that followed, I lost friends, classmates, and many known people in KOHIMA. Some of my friends used to go to the highway midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning to flag down the Manipuri trucks and go down to Dimapur to get their shots. And I remember we, as a government at that time, did not come up with an organized response. We did not respond actually. And we watched hundreds of them go down the grave. Then Nagaland became a huge transit point for ganja, cannabis. And there was a general impression that it's not being used in Nagaland. It goes to Bihar, UP, it goes to West Bengal, Assam, so why make a big deal about it? And so there was also hardly any organized response. I remember as an officer of customs in Guwahati, anti-smuggling, I used to have informers in Imphal. And we used to wait for the trucks in Tezpur Junction because some of the trucks bypassed Guwahati and went to Rangia via Tezpur. And I had the largest cache of seized ganja in the northeast. It was so large that I could not get the permission of the Assam Pollution Control Board to burn them. Finally, they agreed that it may be allowed to be put into a pit and mixed with slake lime. So then we have eventually seen the proliferation of what we call this sunflower drug now. It is available to just about anybody in all the small shops. And if we all take the trouble to look into what is happening in schools today, it is a very frightening picture. You have class 6, 7 students into drugs, into alcohol, into tobacco, and unsupervised use of mobiles. So we do have a very heavy, serious problem here. And we are still yet to have an organized response to these problems that threaten to wipe out the qualities of the next generation. It may not seem to be very scary because we don't see how children are. I remember taking my family with my 5 children to the KOHIMA War Cemetery. I've been mostly out of the state in my service until I got absorbed here. We had no place to go, so I took them to the cemetery. That was the only place where there was some park kind of space. And as we sat down quietly in one corner of the cemetery, a bunch of small kids trooped in, 4 or 5 of them, and with plastic pouches filled with a yellow liquid, sniffing and restlessly pacing up and down the cemetery. I think that was then right. And I guessed from their age and looks they were about class 7, 8. And they were pestering some of the girls who were there. But they just could not even, sit properly. There was no interaction among themselves. They were just restlessly pacing up and down. And it pained me to witness the fact that their parents did not have time to monitor them. It's a matter of fact. Most parents prefer to give their children mobile and let them be by themselves. They don't want to face off their kids on a daily basis, argue with them, quarrel with them, and ask them what they are doing, where are you going? Give them something to be interested in at home. That is another issue I'd like to share briefly. But then let me say that with the recent arrest of the main drug dealers by our state police, it's a very good sign that the state police is has now decided to finally act and apprehend those who are causing irreparable damage to our society. So I believe that this is just a sign of things to come. And we are truly encouraged by what is happening in the state police. Now, I myself am an officer engaged in anti-smuggling and undercover operations during my time, whether it was ganja, whether it was gold, whether it was precious stones, counterfeit currency. We had undercover operations right up to Kuch Bihar and with informers right up to Imphal. So for us, it was our bread and butter to sit the whole day to ask for information, gather details, and then work on how to intercept or work on how to infiltrate. So I believe the time has come now for our professionals to stop saying that this is not my job, this is not my domain. That is an extremely narrow way of looking at things. You have to think of my society and my children, my youth. Until you have a deep love, concern and care for the children, it may not be yours physically, but until you develop that kind of love and concern and a burning desire and determination to make a difference in your work, you will never contribute. And I say so because I, as a person, I have never allowed myself to sink into a mundane routine. Wherever I go, I make it a point to ensure that because I am there, something is better, even if by a little degree. I make it a point to make a difference in the place where I go, for the benefit of the public whom I serve and my masters. So, these are things that we need to know. Information does not come from one individual, from one department. We are all the eyes and ears of the government. And I believe if you look at the problem that our children are facing with mobile games, with the internet, please have a look. I am facing that problem in my family itself. And there are times in the earlier stages when we did not really understand this problem. I had some of my children become hyperactive. After playing mobile games for 4 or 5 hours, they simply could not sit down quietly. It is a very scary sight. And we all do not talk about this kind of issues because they don't involve drugs, they don't involve alcohol, they don't involve tobacco. But the damage they do to their brains is very substantial. And I think when we look at the problem of drugs, the community, it is time now for the community to come forward and act. I'm not saying that we should encourage vigilantism, no. That very often tends to cross the borders of what is the legal boundaries of law. But until and unless communities agree among themselves that they will stay on alert, keep a keen eye on anything that appears to be suspicious, illegal, and collectively take steps to check them, to put them to an end, or to bring them to the notice of the law enforcement agencies. Until we come to that point, I don't think we are going to weed out these problems that we face today. So I would like to say that this workshop today is a giant step towards creating of awareness. There are many things, there are so many professionals and experts in these domains. This country is filled with them. And we can always reach out to them to seek their services. But we are yet to create even the most basic awareness. And by today's workshop, and perhaps if it is successful, more in the days to come, I'm sure that we will generate sufficient levels of awareness and reach out to the public, to the population of our state in all forms of media, so visual as well as written, and then even in our schools, so that at least a few minutes every day is spent to educate our children about what is appropriate and what is not. And then to encourage the members of the community to come forward and protect their children from these evils. And maybe we will slowly get somewhere. And I also extend my good wishes to our respected DGP that he and his team will experience much more success in the days to come. And I must say that it is a matter of great encouragement that he has now taken very definite steps to infuse professionalism into his force. And he's a man of action, and I believe we will be seeing more interesting developments in the days to come. Thank you. I wish you all a good day ahead.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Shri Rupin Sharma, IPS, Director General of Police, Nagaland, to kindly address the gathering.
Good morning, everybody. Respected Governor Sir, Justice Habung, my friends on the dais, and all the participants of this event today. This all started about 6 months back when Mr. Ajungba came up to me. He said, "How about doing it?" I said, "Why not?" So I always take chances. Where there is half a chance, I want to make it 90% of a chance. This is how it started. So he said, let's have it on Pocso. I said, why not Ndps also? So I know that we are putting too much on the plate today. Both these laws are very, very important in the society. So one day may not be enough, but nevertheless, it's a good beginning. I think Mr. Kezo raised some very pertinent issues about the Pocso Act. Yes, it is very stringent. Two aspects I would like to point out. One is the issue of stigmatization of the victims. I think this can only change if the mindset of the society changes. There is no other way out. A victim cannot be seen as an outcast in the society, should not be seen as an outcast in the society. We all need to give respect to the victim. That is where it will begin. That is where more and more reporting of crimes against abuse of children and women will start getting reported. That is where the perpetrators will be brought to book. It's like if you don't bring a perpetrator to book at the first instance, it keeps continuing. So we have to put systems in place where we encourage people to report, do not stigmatize them, and also maintain a degree of secrecy about not just the victim but his or her family, and also the other witnesses. And let me put it this way, that there are three things. This issue about secrecy of the victim, the witnesses, or the informers, it is a common thread that I have been vouching for in three particular categories of crime. One is crimes against women and children. Second is drug-related offenses, where the anonymity or the secrecy of the complainant or the victim has to be maintained. And the third is the particular problem that we face in Nagaland, which is extortion. There also we need to bring in an element and a system of protecting the identity of the informants and also of the witnesses, not just in the police but also in the interface with the judicial system. I have certain ideas, having worked in the central intelligence agencies. My friend Mr. Kezo would have certain ideas on how to do it because he's done the undercover operations. I would want to invite the law department and the judges in Nagaland, especially maybe Guwahati High Court, under the auspices of the Guwahati High Court, to put in place a system where we can protect the identities of the victims, the witnesses, and also any other person who needs to be protected in the judicial process, so that we can deliver effective justice. This is extremely important in the Indian context and also in the context of Nagaland, where it is a very small, close-knit society. I am most willing to work on developing a system with anyone on this. I know that in Pocso Act cases and crimes against women or children, maybe there are Supreme Court guidelines, and now the law is also there that the identities of the victims need to be protected. But there is no system in place. It is just a legal moral authority that we are following to protect the system that we don't give. Everybody is like, okay, this doesn't have to be done, so let's not do it. But there is no systematic, institutionalized effort in place or a mechanism in place where we can protect the identities of these people. It is easy to develop such systems where the identities of these classes of people are only known to certain people at certain periods of time and not to everybody else. This will help better delivery of justice. One of the methods is the in-camera trials or partly in-camera trials, but otherwise also it can be done, so I'm open to a discussion on this. The second thing that I would want to bring out is, importantly, the Government of India has adopted 3 new criminal laws, which under the new IPC, the BNS, it gives primacy to the offences against women. And also the new CRPC, the Nagrik Suraksha Samhita, where a lot of changes have been brought in. Time-bound trials, how to protect the witnesses. I mean, not witnesses specifically, but time-bound trials and the recording of witnesses and searches, recording of searches and all. Nagaland has had traditionally some exceptions because of the Article 371. But the Government of India has been pushing for a timeline for adoption of the 3 laws, particularly the equivalent of the CRPC. So the state government has set up a committee, a screening committee for the adoption of the laws. I think we need to expedite the entire process so that we can adopt the BNSS with whatever modifications if required. My personal take on the BNSS is that even without formal notifications on most of the sections of the existing CRPC, most components of the criminal justice system are even now following the CRPC in letter and spirit, whether it is the police or the judiciary. Okay, so my personal take is that we should go ahead and adopt this new law. But I would request all stakeholders to come up with their views quickly on this so that we have a better system in place. The new system is definitely better than the existing one. On the issue of drugs, one thing I've mentioned is the need to protect the identity of the persons involved. However, I think there has to be for example, I'm a champion of liberty, but I think certain things we have to take care that in certain cases where the good of the society at large is involved, we should be willing to compromise a little bit on the personal liberty of individuals, especially the individuals who are a menace to the society. We have to develop systems. Again, I may be saying something against the law for my judicial officers, judicial service officers here in this room, but personally my take is I think the Indian judicial system does not answer one question. If a convict or if an accused or a suspect is let free, if not him, then who? Yes, the process is sacrosanct. You have a person produced in court, he is let off because of procedural lapses. But I would rather answer this question as a police officer and for the good of the society. If it is not this person who has committed a crime, then who has committed the crime? So this, I think, is something which also probably sometimes need to be factored into the legal system. I know that this is a stray thought. A lot of you, including the judicial officers here and this side, may not like it, but I think at times it's important to answer these questions. I don't know how it can be done under the current system, but there is definitely a requirement. On the drugs, again, we fall back to my previous sentence on the drugs issue. There's a person who's carrying, say, a few grams or say 200 grams of drugs in a vehicle. He's the only one in a vehicle, and there's nobody around, so the only witness is the police officer. And you say, no, there were no independent witnesses and there is no magistrate. So the issue is, if not him who was carrying it, the vehicle cannot fly with drugs. So there are issues which we need to all address at times in a very pragmatic, practical manner. Yes, if a benefit of doubt has to be given, it probably could be given, but probably not at the cost of creating a greater menace to the society. Again, I'm not saying anything against the judicial officers. This is a general thinking that I have. A lot of these criminals who are involved in drug trafficking are recidivists. They are involved in multiple crimes, multiple occasions. We need to find methods to address it. The resort to, again, I'm not saying this, please don't take it otherwise, my judicial officer friends. The resort to things like preventive detention by the state government or by the administrative authorities in cases of various crimes or criminals. Sometimes it is with a view to prevent the person from committing further offenses or being a menace to the society. But it would not be wrong to say that sometimes it is because the pace of the judicial system is slow, or was slow. I would say it was slow in the previous act. Now it will become faster because the number of adjournments have been limited to 2. So let's also be aware of the fact that by being slow, we are sort of at times only encouraging criminals to do this. Again, it's not that against only the judicial officers I'm saying, or against the judicial system. It's only also my police officer friends, my colleagues here. Mr. Kezo has brought out very valid issues, that he had informers right from Nagaland to Imphal when he was based in Guwahati. How many of us have good informers within Nagaland who will share information on any crimes with us? And if you get that information, how many of you pass that information up the channel to your seniors? So that the system is aware of the information that you have and not individuals in the system. If we work as individuals, we will never succeed. If we work as a system, as an institution, there is a greater chance of us succeeding. Unfortunately, in Nagaland, I've said it on many platforms, I will just repeat it again. Unfortunately, in Nagaland's context, and Nagaland police, we have been an armed police-centric state. Even now, we have 15 battalions with around 16,000 people in the battalions. And around 50% of a component of the district executive force is armed police, which effectively means around 70% of the Nagaland police is involved in law and order duties and not investigation work per se. I think we need to change this, we need to reinvent this. That is where better professionalism and better investigation will come into this Nagaland police. Without that, we cannot succeed. I would like to thank my officers from Nagaland police and also the judicial officers who are involved in this war against drugs by the Nagaland government. But I would also like to admit that the biggest reason for whatever success we have achieved is that we have tried to improve the quality of the investigation, following up on the leads that we have got from one single case. Earlier we were like, if we get like 10 soap cases, finish it, just put them behind the bars. Now we have started going after the entire networks from one single case. That is how we have been able to succeed. I can tell you for sure, my friends, that the only way Nagaland police will be able to establish the supremacy of law in the state and enhance our image and trust in the minds of the public is through better investigation. Nothing against the armed police. The armed police will help you, but it is the investigation which will carry the day forward in any court of law, in any system in the country. I think we need to ramp up our skills. The state government has been gracious enough to help us in additional forensic facilities and all. We would need more, but the more can only be sought from the state government if we do more investigation. If we have just 10 samples for forensic analysis, we just need a small setup, we don't need more. But if we have 1,000 samples, we will have to request others to help us. Lastly, Pocso Act, coming back to it, is not just, in my eyes, limited to only bad touch, good touch, or the physical aspect of it. As Mr. Kezo mentioned, that the cyber interface or the IT interface of the Pocso Act has also to be looked at very closely. Our children, our society can easily get, I would say, polluted by whatever is available on the internet. The Pocso Act, read with the IT Act and the provisions of the other laws, the IPC and all, can provide a very good basis for checking the proliferation of child pornography and other things on the internet. I would urge my police officers also to equip them with better knowledge on how to deal with the cases under the IT Act and the cyber crimes, especially those relating to the Pocso Act, crimes against women and children. Similarly, on the IT Act front, I think there is a lot of IT interface in most crimes. A lot of Nagaland police officers are doing it, but I think we need to ramp up our skills better on this. In the end, while thanking the High Court and Mr. Ajungba, if I could request him and the High Court and also the state government that I think we need to have greater such interactions, probably not in such a big gathering or such big gatherings, but in slightly smaller gatherings, and also create awareness. I think awareness, one part of the awareness is awareness amongst ourselves, but the other part of the awareness is among the masses on what are the legal provisions, how to report to the police. And Nagaland is an evolving society, so people don't even know how to report to the police. I get 4 to 5 messages on my WhatsApp or my Facebook every day by direct message, how to report to the police. So we have to take the law and the legal justice system to the masses. I think all of us need to put in a concerted, coordinated effort for this. Whatever Nagaland police is required to do, or whatever Nagaland police is asked to do, we will always stand with all of you in any platform. Please do not hesitate to approach us. Whatever we can do, we will do. And even if it is a short notice, if it can be done, it will be done. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We shall now be presented with a special song by the Dimapur District Legal Services Authority, comprising of the panel lawyers and the paralegal volunteers. They'll be presenting the theme song of the Nagaland State Legal Services Authority, titled Justice for All. Please take your time. Thank you, DDLSA. I now have the honor to invite Honorable Governor of Nagaland, Sri La Ganesan, to deliver the inaugural address.
Honorable Mr. Justice Budi Abang, Judge of the Guwahati High Court, Sri Rupin Sharma, IPS, Director General of Police, Nagaland, Sri V. Keso, Commissioner and Secretary, Health and Family Welfare, Nagaland, Sri Anup Kinchi, IAS, Commissioner and Secretary, Land Justice, Nagaland, Sri Ajungba Imchen, Registrar, Guwahati High Court, Kohima Branch, esteemed members from the judiciary, police, and medical fraternity of Nagaland, distinguished guests, sisters and brothers. It is with great honor that I stand before you today as we convene to address two critical legislations that are pivotal to the well-being and future of our society, namely the protection of children from sexual offences, or Pocso Act 2012, and the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances of Ndps Act 1985. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you, esteemed members of the judiciary, dedicated prosecutors, vigilant law enforcement officers, and compassionate medical professionals. Your unwavering commitment to upholding the principles of justice and protecting the well-being of our society is truly commendable. It is your dedication and tireless efforts that serve as the bedrock of our legal system and ensure that the rule of law prevails. Nagaland, our beloved state, is not immune to the complexities and intricacies of the criminal justice landscape. We face unique challenges that demand our attention and concerned efforts to overcome. The Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012 stands as a beacon of hope in our quest and shield of our children from the trauma of sexual abuse and exploitation. However, the effective implementation and enforcement of this legislation are hindered by a myriad of challenges. Similarly, the scourge of the drug abuse and trafficking continues to ravage our communities, posing a grave threat to public health and safety, especially that of our youth. The Narcotic Drugs and Physiotropic Substances Act 1985 aims to fight drug abuse and trafficking, but it is imperative that we confront the local obstacles that impede its efficacy. Armed with the challenges facing our criminal justice system are the geographical constraints that hinder access to remote areas, the scarcity of resources and infrastructure, and the cultural nuances that influence perceptions of crime and justice. Additionally, the prevalence of traditional dispute resolution mechanisms and the stigma surrounding certain crimes often deter victims from seeking resource through formal legal channels. It is incumbent upon us to acknowledge these challenges and work collaboratively to address them. We must prioritize the training and capacity building of our law enforcement personnel, judiciary, and medical professionals to ensure a more effective response to cases of child sexual abuse and drug-related offenses. Moreover, we must engage with the local communities to raise awareness, dispel myths, and foster trust in the formal justice system. Furthermore, we must leverage technology and innovation to overcome the geographical barriers and streamline processes for assessing justice. ICT enablement of courts, remote video conferencing, telemedicine, and online reporting mechanisms are just a few examples of how we can harness technology to enhance the efficiency and accessibility of our justice system. We are discussing two subjects mainly. The number one is Pocso. The second one is about the drugs abuse. Actually, long back I remember, I am from Tamil Nadu, you must be knowing that, some 30 years back. From my young age, I was associated with some organization. So, a person belonging to my organization, but he is from Nagaland, northeast states. He came to Tamil Nadu and he addressed us. About that, he explained about the situation prevailing in the northeast states. I remember one sentence, even now I remember that. I want to say about the culture of Nagaland, I will say, only one sentence he said. It is the midnight. Suppose a young lady wants to go from his place to other, suppose a parent's house, alone, without any help. She can travel by walk and reach that place, and she will not be harmed at all. There is no problem. That is the culture of Nagaland. This is what he told me 30 years ago. Even now I remember that. Now we are discussing about Pocso. What is the reason for it? It is not only Nagaland. I'm only quoting example about what the Nagaland was at that time, 30 years ago. Now the present position, we have to discuss about the Pocso Act. Why? What is the reason? The second subject is the first subject you have to discuss. The reason for all these cases, increase in the number of cases in the Pocso Act, is only because of the second, drug abuse. Because of the drug abuse, the Pocso cases are also more in number. That we have to understand that. And as far as the drug abuse is concerned, I will tell you, I am addressing this particular subject about this, I am addressing to many people in many meetings. And India is now proud to say that India is young India. Mane kya? That means the population of India, the youngsters are more in number. So that is the confidence that gives to us, not only to me, even to the Honorable Prime Minister, that we can make anything, the World Committee of Nations, that we can become number one country. The strength of the youth, number of population of the youth. But at the same time, I read one more report, that also in the newspapers. As far as the drug addicts are concerned, youths are more in number. So you have to read both. then I have to come to a conclusion. I have come to a conclusion. It is not, naturally it is not done. The world, there are many people are there. I don't want to mention the names of the nations, particularly our neighboring nations. They want to see that India should not progress. And knowing well that India youths are more in number, they wanted to spoil the youths of our country. When youths are spoiled, no question of planning about the progress of the country, or as our Honorable Prime Minister says that we will Viksit Bharat, and India will become now from 5th position to 3rd position. All those things is very difficult to achieve. So that way the nations who are inimical to our country, they are planning and deliberately, they want to spoil our young folks. Why am I telling this? Because I am in Nagaland. Not only I am in Nagaland, I am responsible for whatever that is happening in Nagaland, being a governor. So China, may not be in your subject for discussion. China, you know well, we are in Nagaland, and China wants to spoil India. And the root is, Burma is our neighboring country, Myanmar. And we are close to Myanmar. Not only that, I can say, the people, some of the people in Myanmar, they are our family members. Nagas are there in Myanmar, Nagas are there in Nagaland. Same family is divided into both these territories. But central government is thinking of preventing this drug smuggling. That is why they are thinking about abolition of FMR. That is why they want to put a boundary, fencing. But unfortunately, the people, I understand the feeling of the people. They are my family members. Why unnecessarily you divide us? I agree with that. The central government thinking is like that only, to prevent the drug smuggling. Once it comes in, within 24 hours it will reach Tamil Nadu. Of course, now the people are caught here and there, with all much difficulties. Our friend, he has to face all those problems, but we cannot say that. But I can say. But at the same time, though I have got this idea, but while addressing the assembly as a governor, I myself have requested the central government to go slow as far as implementing the FMR or putting a fencing. Because you have to educate the people, make them understand, yes, what the central government is doing is right. It is not to prevent our Naga people coming here and going there. It is to prevent these unwanted elements, anti-national, anti-social elements. And because of that, to save our own youth forces. So this, I request all of these people, highly intellectual people are here, sitting here. From your mouth, it should be spread, unless you educate them. But I don't want anything, the central government to rush in implementing abolition of FMR or putting fence. First, educate the people, convince the people. Our Nagaland people are highly educated. They will understand, easily they will understand. And then they also agree, yes, we can put the fence, we can prevent smuggling from all these drug inside. So that way, as we convene today, let us approach the deliberation of this workshop with a sense of urgency, compassion, and determination. Let us seize this opportunity to deepen our understanding of the issues at hand, share best practices, and chart a course of action that will make a tangible difference in the lives of those we serve. Let us use this workshop as a platform to exchange ideas, learn from each other's experience, and build a partnership that will benefit our communities. By doing so, we can make meaningful progress in strengthening Nagaland's criminal justice system. In closing, let us remember that the true measure of our success lies not only in the laws we enact or the cases we prosecute, but in the lives we touch and the future we safeguard. Together, let us strive to be beacons of hope, champions of justice, and guardians of our children's dreams. Together, we have the power to shape a brighter, safer, and more inclusive future for our beloved Nagaland. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful and encouraging words. To conclude the inaugural session, I invite Sri Ajungba Imjin, Registrar Guwahati High Court Kohima Bench, to pronounce the vote of thanks, which will be followed by the playing of the national anthem.
Honorable Governor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the High Court Legal Services Committee, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to each of you for your invaluable contribution to the success of this event. We are deeply honored by the presence of our Honorable Governor of Nagaland, which has made this event even more meaningful and significant, sir. I express sincere appreciation to the honorable judges, resource persons, and all attendees from the judiciary, prosecution, police, medical, and media fraternity for your active engagement and commitment to the cause of justice. Your presence here today underscores the importance of our collective efforts to protect our children and combat drug abuse in our communities. I would like to express gratitude to our esteemed speakers for sharing their knowledge and insights on the protection of children from Sexual Offences Act 2012 and the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act 1985. Your words have been enlightening and have provided valuable perspective on the implementation of these laws. A special thanks to the organizing team, High Court Legal Services Committee, for their meticulous planning and execution of this workshop. Your dedication to helping people access to justice is appreciated and commendable. As we wrapped up the inaugural session of this important workshop, I once again extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for your invaluable participation and contributions. Your commitment to justice and child protection is evident and appreciated. Let us continue to work together towards a brighter and a more prosperous Nagaland. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Shall we all stand for the national anthem? Thank you. Please be seated. There will be a photo session with the dignitaries on and off the dais. So I request the registry officials to kindly escort our Honorable Governor and the dignitaries to the front porch. Other attendees may proceed for the tea break. tea has been arranged in the adjacent room. Thank you all. Attendees may proceed for tea in the adjacent room. We will resume in 10 minutes for the first working session.